Okay,
We'll just talk to each other. Like, what's the problem?
that's right.
Is the
We can do
Zoom
All right.
on?
The Zoom audio is running. It's running off of my computer. So
Okay.
hello, if anybody's there. Nobody is, but this will be recorded and this will be our official meeting minutes. So welcome to Conservation Board meeting. We will start with let's see, the board attendees are Amy Bowser, Jonathan Hedinger, myself, Michael DeChellis, Bill Edwards, and McCrae Wester. So we have a quorum. Danielle may or may not be here. I'm not sure. I haven't heard. I'm sure she's just running a little late. The first order of the day is to review the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
Michael, could I quickly introduce myself? There's a couple of people here that
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, that would be great. I was gonna do it right after because I always try to get the
Oh, okay.
meeting minutes, but
Okay,
sure, let's do that first.
okay.
So who else is here right now? How about we do that?
I am Joni Kresich, and I am the co-chair of Yellowstone Bend Citizens Council. Bill is also a founding member, and we have been working for coming up on 6 years now on mitigating the impacts of fossil fuel transport and moving forward with solarizing as much as we can.
Thank you. And you were
Actions of the public.
Oh.
You're the
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
I'm running this. This is a group show effort. No, Jim, we're just going around and understanding. This is really also, it's helpful for board members that may not be familiar with you all to make sure that they know. Yep.
I'm Jim Berg. I live here in town on 5th Street. I've been doing energy efficient design and building for over 40 years. I do energy audits and some solar PV systems too. Short version.
And you're a chair of something.
Oh, I'm the chair of the zoning commission too. Oh,
Just
sure.
by the way.
That doesn't relate too much.
Co-chair of YBCC. And then Alexis,
Hello.
you brought somebody.
I did. I'm Alexis. I'm the Energy Corps person. I brought my replacement.
Lexi. So you can call us both Alexis or Lexi. Both will work.
What's your preference?
Lexi. I'm just saying, like, I realize our names are very similar.
And when did
How do I
you
spell
start?
your name?
Lexie. I just got here, and I've been here for 2 weeks now.
Okay.
Yeah. And Alexis's term is ending, I think, in 2 more weeks. So we have some overlap.
Okay.
And just like Alexis, I'll be working with YBCC as well.
Great.
I don't know what else I'll be doing, because I don't know what I'm doing yet, but here we are.
Any board comments on any of the guests? No, we'll have a public comment period for some of the specifics of what we're accomplishing today. Can we just very quickly knock off the first action item, which is approving the minutes from the last meeting? Has everybody had a chance to read what Jonathan sent around? I can pull it up.
I did. Yeah, the TV's still going in and out. So right now we can read it.
Yeah, I know,
Hurry.
it's awful. Just a reminder that everything on this board is public always by default. This is our public Google Drive. And in here is, we actually haven't dropped it in here yet, have we? I will just pull up yours from yesterday there. Hey, Danielle. Danielle has entered. We now have a super quorum.
Oh,
Waited.
I thought you were gone. No, not yet.
That's what I want you to be.
You're like, dang, she's still here.
All right, so here's the meeting. Here are the meeting minutes. We had public. Anyway, does anybody have anything? I'd like to just, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? I read it. I saw they were great.
I motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
Cray seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Approve the minutes.
Learning, it was a little smoother.
Yeah. Next, I'd like to, since we already kind of switched to our public comment period, I'd like to just go ahead and introduce the agenda for today. We have some really key things that we need to accomplish. So we do have an agenda. I now realize I pasted it in here under our meeting here. We have to do a vote on a resolution recommending a change to the monthly meeting, which is just because we needed to notice that. So we'll do that. We have a vote on resolution recommending continued support of Energy Corps program within the city county. We can work on a little bit of language if we want to, but I'd like to just have a very brief statement of support or not support, and then check that box. That would be going to the commission. Finally, and this is the most important thing, organizing and compiling our agenda and work, including topics for basically the rest of the year. We will not get through all of that. But what we should prioritize is what are we doing for the next several months? And we need to make sure that we are soliciting heavy public input on these items, because what we're essentially creating is a project pipeline. The latest from the meeting yesterday, the working meeting for the city commission that happened in this room, is that on Tuesday they have an agenda item for the standard ready for the regular commission meeting to tell us what we should be doing. And so what would be really helpful for that process is if we came to them with a proactive list of the things that we think we can accomplish and work on, for them to approve, edit, tear up, whatever, right, as they wish. But I'd like to have the output of today to be at least the first draft of a working document that will be a living document that we will continue to update based on whatever we're working on and what our agenda queue looks like. Anybody have any board comment on that stuff? Any public comment on that stuff?
I just wondered if you had any sense of what the city's thinking.
We do.
Okay.
Good. Thanks for leading the next step there, Jim. I appreciate it.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
we wait to do that till we get to that
Yeah.
item? Okay.
Yeah, we should. I was actually on the agenda, but can we go ahead and just try to knock off these two votes that we have put on the agenda that we're going to get to?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to have a resolution recommending to change the monthly meetings
Yes, sir.
from 5 to 7 p.m. on the second Wednesday.
Do I have a second?
To 5 p.m. right?
Pardon me,
We're changing it to 5 p.m. right?
5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
yeah, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
on the second Wednesday.
Yeah, we can have it all in the same
Oh,
motion.
sorry.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Resolution passes. So the next one is a a recommendation. I think that there was, from Alexis's presentation and from voices that we've heard from the community before the formation of the Conservation Board, and an acknowledgement of how important and integral the Energy Corps position was to the creation of the Conservation Board, I think we should just create a resolution recommending the continued support of the Energy Corps program ongoing in the city, county, just going forward. Actually, and I'd like to ask if Alexis has any input to that. If there's anything that specifically you think needs to be recommended structurally, like we should recommend that they support X percentage of budget, any other language besides a statement of general support.
I don't think there really needs to be. It's mostly just, I think the program as it's run now works well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people in charge of it in the city and the county are good. I think YBCC is good. I think it's really just like, it's just the money that they got to kick in. And so that's pretty straightforward. We like this.
I might ask,
Funding it.
what about that in regard to trying to make it a permanent situation rather than kind of tentative from here on?
So my company runs that Energy
Yeah.
Corps. I don't know if you knew that. So a permanent position, because it's like a AmeriCorps,
Yeah.
it's not a permanent position. They are technically volunteers and they get paid in like college credits and stipends. And so they have 6 months is 6 month term.
A year. I was just gonna say,
You're
I
doing a
think
year.
that, oh, no, I'm saying they are a year.
They vary. Some people have
They
done
vary.
6 months. Some
Yeah.
people have done 3 months. It's
Depending on
generally
what the program is,
a
but
year, 6 months,
I
or 3
think
months.
they're designed to support a community until a community no longer needs it, and then they can develop a program in a new community. So I don't think a permanent whatever exists within their structure.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess it's supposed to sort of create this momentum. And then in like the idea world, the city county is like, wow, this is so cool. Let's get a like permanent staff person and like fund that for Park County. I think that's sort of the idea of having these AmeriCorps people, is to sort of, it's a low cost way for like cities and counties and nonprofits to see, oh, cool, like energy conservation and local resilience. Now we think that's important enough to fund it ourselves.
So Danielle, how do you think this should be worded, since it's your organization?
Continued support is actually perfect, because what happens is Livingston asks Energy Corps for a member, and then we assign a member to Livingston. And we haven't had a problem with people, with enough Energy Corps members since we started Livingston. I don't know how long ago that was.
I'm the second person, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's very
so
long.
we had a meeting about it, and so continued support's perfect, actually. What it
motion?
says. Because of, they are basically, Livingston supports the program by supporting them and does a match on their.
if you make that a motion, I'll second
Sure,
it. Oh, good.
I motion.
And well, here, let's to the city commission. I want to just have a motion to approve a recommended text and then move on, right?
Yeah.
Because city commission continued.
I don't know what's going on with your screen. But
I know,
just
It's
keeps-
awful. I'm sorry, guys. I know if we can just stop, but I can read out the resolution text and then we can just move on.
Is it possible to just turn that off?
Is it just
Yeah.
refreshing all the time?
I think it's the length of the cable,
Oh, like it's too long?
potentially. The conservation, so how about the Conservation Board of the City of Livingston urges the City Commission to continue their support of the Energy Corps program as it is currently set up in partnership with the county.
Okay, I make that motion.
Second that motion.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Or your motion.
Motion,
We got a lot of motions.
motion
Now I
forward,
called him the Jim Crow laws.
motion forward and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We should actually, we should do discussion.
How do we wanna do it?
After it's seconded, so then you do discussion.
That's right.
on
Yeah,
the-
thank you. Jonathan is, as usual,
He knows all the Jim
he
Crow
knows
laws.
all- he knows
That's
all of
wrong.
them.
What is it called?
Robert's rules.
yeah, so the motions, are there any further points of discussion on the motion? Anybody want to add anything? Any public comment on the motion?
Well, we're in favor.
We'll say it. Joan and Kressich?
Yes, I am in favor of this resolution and the continued support. It's been incredible. Both of
Fantastic.
our, Energy Corps interns have been incredible. Shall I use that word again? And I'm sure you will too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your voice of support. It really helps us to have voices from the community that acknowledges what we're trying to resolve. Okay. Then I will go to a vote. Now, is that proper, Jonathan? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I hear no, any nays? No. The resolution passes. We can now send that off to the commission on Tuesday. I will take that responsibility. So now we get to the main event, which I really wish we had screen sharing for.
Well, you can try it again.
Okay, let's try again.
I mean, you can still read it. Just you have to read really quick.
So I'm also, if anybody wants to join the Zoom conference from their random devices, 6 feet away, I will, I can,
Mute it so we don't double hear you.
Yes.
yeah, specifically. So I have created a Word document. This is a response really to the meeting from last night, which is going to be, it'll come up in a second. That's really a working document. It's called the Conservation Board 2020 Project List and Priorities. It's actually on the Google Drive already. If you want to, under the board working documents folder. Nope, I lied. Where is it? Oof, I'm sorry, guys. This is the second board meeting I've run today, so.
Is it under?
It's under not publicly reviewed
Yeah,
and then
drafts.
admin,
Okay,
which is.
that's not where I want it, but that's fine. So under not publicly reviewed and under admin, we will, so the idea is to move this to a working revision, to approve by resolution a revision of this document. This would be a working revision, right? There's going to be a whole barrel full of asterisks on it that says, hey, this isn't done, but this is where we are right now, so that we can present it to the commission on Tuesday.
I think it can be open.
What's that?
I don't think you can even open the document. I tried to download it and I haven't.
You are trying to open the
Right.
TILD version, which is,
Oh.
so try using the one to the right of it.
This one?
Well, it's
That's
also a
true.
Word document, not a Google doc.
Oh, I downloaded it.
You can open it in Google Docs. That's why I did it that way.
We can all edit it together.
That's true. And that's
Sad, we can't
that's-
put it together.
that's the way it should be.
Okay.
So, so what I've done, and so in the message board, we can all see that that people have brought some of their priorities, or
Sorry, hold on. And then I'm not going.
some of their recommendations, their priority recommendations to the board, and that was really, really, really appreciated. What we'll end up with is, so I have put some of those in here. If anybody sees something that isn't their pet project that they really want to have in here, please do not be angry at me. That is not, the intention was not to make this comprehensive. The intention was for it to be a good first start. So from the documents that we've seen both from the commission and also conversations and inputs from ourselves, I've tried to do a first pass at a list of priorities. There are a few key things that I think we should discuss. The first is from our bylaws, we are supposed to have a focus on energy efficiency, lighting. Actually pulled the bylaws up. Livingston City Conservation Board is organized for the purpose of identifying opportunities to reduce costs and promote sustainable growth by implementing energy efficient equipment, procedures, or systems, and incorporating renewable energy, should we say, if feasible. And additionally, we can aid in community-wide sustainable education and promotion opportunities for citizens to fund private energy-saving projects. So we can advise the City Commission on building efficiency strategies, renewable energy recycling, tracking of energy use, and energy-saving initiatives. So there's a lot.
Say such as though, so it's not.
That's right. That's not a
exclusive.
very good point.
However, that does delineate what they felt was important at the time this document was put out. So they are suggesting that these are areas we should devote energy to.
That's right. That's right. So I've created a sort of a punch list of sort of a first pass based on what, and there's sort of 3 criteria, I think, to each, to what we should consider. The first is it in our wheelhouse? 2, is it something that we have the skills to do, skills and energy, passion, not energy, but passion to do, because that will, if we match the projects that we're doing to what we all want to be doing, we will have a much higher quality output. We'll be engaged, fulfilled board members. We're all volunteers. If we're going to commit to spending our time working on projects, they should be things that we want to do. But also, and probably most important, they need to be responsive to what the commission wants. And then finally, I really want us to focus on some quick wins. So we're a brand new board. We have no reputation. Let's make one. Let's come in here and let's have a few really good quick wins that we know are things that people have as priorities, as taken from Michael Cardos in our first meeting, for example, or from, actually it would be helpful maybe, Jonathan, to pull up the hot off the press document from last night from Melissa on the City Commission.
Yeah, I don't have an electronic copy, but I can email it to myself and put it on our website.
Here, I have the texted version here. I guess I could pull up.
Yeah, I guess just email that to myself.
I wonder if anyone else has used this.
The TV.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They used it last night. I'm sure it's my cable. I really
Oh, okay.
apologize,
Well,
guys.
that's relatively easy fix then for the future. It's easier than.
So these are the kinds of things, there was a strong focus, and it was noticed, and they're going to talk about it on Tuesday on an energy action plan, energy/climate action plan. That's been on the strategic, the strategic plan, I suppose, for a while. That was why it was part of the topic yesterday.
So yeah, the energy action plan was added to the city created its first strategic plan last year. And as a part of the strategic plan, one of their items was create the conservation board. And then they were created items for us to focus on, other items that Comron had, the former Energy Corps person had suggested, including developing an energy action plan or climate action plan, developing a 3 to 5 year energy improvements budget, an energy savings implementation fund, a green waste strategy, and electric vehicle infrastructure. And all of those items were related to conservation in the strategic plan. And we decided, so like last night they decided that to kind of put those all under develop an energy and climate action plan. And so they kind of said that they plan to signal next week at their meeting that the conservation board's priority should be developing this energy or climate action plan. And they also put in items from such as noise reduction, native landscaping, preserving the night sky, and then lots of others. And then they put in the Livingston Growth Policy Survey results, which a lot of those were focused on conservation. And then they said that they know that this is kind of a working document, that we're new at this and stuff. So they suggested we look at the Whitefish and Red Lodge ones, which are wide ranging, but aren't necessarily entirely, I mean, they are climate and energy action plans, but they don't necessarily only focus on energy and electricity. And so I think that that's something that it's kind of, I think that that's why Michael, I document that he's suggesting is a really good thing for us to do, because then we can say what our priorities are, and we can probably put those into the energy action plan. And I think that that's like a good way to help. I think we really have a lot of say in what this becomes.
So my comment last night, and I'd really like to hear opinions from everyone on this, is that I liked the idea of responding to the commission's request for a climate/energy action plan. It is it is going to have to be done in sort of a phased approach, because I don't think that we could create an energy action plan, but we haven't dug deeply into all the details. We have the stuff that Alexis did for the greenhouse gas inventory, but that's limited to city county consumption. So just by the government buildings and government operations. If we go big and we go with a comprehensive plan, like the ones from the Whitefish,
Well,
and
those are actually just energy action plans for government.
they are.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard. It's all sort of enmeshed in that stuff that governments do reduce consumption and energy use by residents and stuff, like if they put in electric vehicle charging stations and stuff. But for a lot of for focusing on how they can make their wastewater treatment more energy efficient, and how they can transfer their government fleets to electric vehicles. There wasn't really a focus on how can we get other people who aren't in the government to do stuff. So I guess if they're pointing to Red Lodge and they're pointing to Whitefish, that they would want the energy action plan here to be a government action plan.
I don't think that's really the direction. I think that the direction that we got was more just saying
General.
It doesn't have to be formal like Helena and Missoula and Bozeman. It can be just us trying to piece it together, not necessarily and that we can say, and I talked to Michael Cardos today about kind of, because it seems like a big task, and so I just saw him upstairs on my way here, and he just said, we can make it a plan to come up with a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan. Well, it's actually, that's one of my favorite things. I mean, it's the phase zero thing, which is it's the plan to plan. Yeah. So my comment on the thing last night was, we could easily commit to the commission to having essentially a project plan. I mean, we can have some initial outcomes that come from this, but a comprehensive climate action plan, if we're going to do this right, should take a while. And that doesn't mean that we put some due date that's, you know, October 2021, and then we just keep kicking the can, and then we go, oh man, we got to come up with something in a month, you know. And instead, I would very much like to spend some time putting together like an actual plan. And so that actually was this line item here, which magically is on the up there when we need it, which is to do an energy climate action plan framework. So I think that what could come into this framework is we have an intention for a climate action plan. We could, with public input or with our own sense of what our goals are, identify some really big goals if we want to. But we have to have a period of time where we evaluate if those goals are achievable or not. And I think that having some of that phased approach to coming up with an action plan that can actually result in real action. We could even come out with an energy action plan that's very specific at first and then broadens in goals as we understand a little bit better what our path would be to get to those goals.
Well, it's funny because I'm thinking the exact opposite of
Yeah,
that.
it should be broader.
Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking I think we almost need to think real long term. Like what is this board going to do for us in 10 years? Not specifics, but what do we want to accomplish in our city as far as conservation on a really big, broad scale? And then we narrow that down to what can we do right now to facilitate moving in that direction in the future, especially when maybe not all of us are here anymore.
I can see what Michael's saying on the specifics, because we have little things we can do now, and then we can broaden it out to bigger things later. It's kind of what I think.
Well, actually,
I don't know.
I
feel like all of these are huge.
yeah, I was having
How do we do any of that? And we hardly can. I mean, in an hour meeting, what are we like?
Well,
it's just, to me, it seems a little like all of it seems really big.
I actually, I was talking with Jonathan earlier today, trying to make sure I had my head on straight for what we had committed to doing for this meeting. I actually agree with you. I was really inspired when I lived in Austin by how they started off with some ridiculously large far out goals. But I was also very privy to what happened behind the scenes to get those out there and get those voted on by the council and published. And there were dozens of people working for about 2 years to convince the council that while they were all focused on these really big, broad goals, they essentially did the feasibility study before the council was willing to either listen to it or approve it. And these are people that were highly motivated, but they were also they were quite professional in the sense that they weren't going to put goals up that they didn't think they could, with serious effort, achieve. So I actually agree with you. I think that putting, having, responding to the community, to voices from the community that say, well, we need to have some climate goals or something like that, is a really good goal. The question is though, I mean, we can just pull numbers out of our,
Right, and I guess maybe I'm thinking a little less official.
Well,
Can we just say like, we want to protect our section of the Yellowstone River. Okay, that's our broad goal, and we don't take that outside of this room. It's just, like you said, a framework of how we decide where we want to put our efforts. Because that's a huge thing that's going to involve a ton of people, a ton of time. I don't even know what that could look like at this point, but
yeah.
If we narrow that down to like, we want less stuff going in our stormwater, even that's huge, but there's, I'm thinking more like an unofficial framework of.
I think we could do overarching goals, but not necessarily make them number based, but like more like our vision or something for ourselves or something like that. That we
Yeah,
have
exactly.
five like
Yeah, what's
items.
our
Like,
vision?
because like that's what the city does with its strategic plan was they had like 5 items in each of, and then they put goals under each item that like help them achieve that overarching
Yes.
goal. So it's kind of just like more of a creative vision, and then not necessarily say like
Okay.
a certain number or something that we don't know if that's realistic or not.
Jim, I see you asking to have a comment.
Well, a couple things. It seems to me like your mission statement is concerned with energy efficiency, energy conservation. And I'm getting the sense, and then there's some sort of goals that are in here that don't relate to that. For instance, groundwater or night sky, kind of pollution. And I think where that comes from linguistically is you're called a conservation board, and that's a title that gets used by the environmental community too.
Yep.
So that would be one kind of way to make this more easier to handle, is to deliberately like focus on energy conservation and efficiency and use of renewables, and let other organizations deal with some of those other issues. So that's one thing. And then another thing is, in just terms of goals, we've known for a long time that if we're going to deal with climate, we need an 80 or 90% reduction in fossil fuel use, and using like 2005 as the baseline within 10 years.
10 years.
And so that means that I, in my house, and my driving, and my car, my flying around, my consumption, and everyone else in the city and the county and the whole community has to do the same thing. That's a big order, but it's easily understandable. So you could put that out there as we have this goal. You know, if we're going to be responsible world citizens, this is kind of our target.
So let's pull this in, because I like this input. What this does is it creates maybe a project definition for this little framework exercise that we're talking about, which is that we have some objectives which are to really define what our what some of our squishy goals are, right? And then to create a project plan, a path to have a much more detailed energy climate action plan. And then in terms of focus, to reply kind of, Jim, to what you were saying, we've had some conflicting messaging from the commission. If you read our bylaws, it doesn't say anything. I mean, I'll go look again, but I don't see anything about water in here.
No, it came up in the survey thing.
Yeah.
It's on that paper.
And I don't see, so, you know, I mean, but I mean, water and how we manage our water is a huge piece of our greenhouse gas emissions from the inventory that Alexis did. But it does focus our efforts on just that. Joni, you have
Is
a
it
public
okay
comment?
for the public to jump in feet first here?
We want you
okay,
to
good.
please provide input on what you want
I
us to
think
focus on.
one thing that's been very helpful, I think, in thinking about groups that are active in Livingston, Montana, in the county, is to not replicate services. So I know when we came into being, the first thing that Northern Plains did is they interviewed about, I think it may have been 100 people, to say, is there a way that a group can work here on fossil fuels and on energy without replicating somebody else's work. And I would posit that it's energy that is the whole here in terms of climate, in terms of groups that are working on it actively. Yellowstone Bend is doing that work, but we want to partner with you and really push this faster and in a much more robust way. If you look at other aspects that we all deeply care about and that have some connection to climate, for instance, the river and water and the watersheds, there's a lot of work going on, and I don't think it makes sense for this group to replicate that. I personally, I feel the biggest the way this group can be most powerful is to tackle greenhouse gas emissions. And I think it makes perfect sense to begin with the city and county. But the goal can be bigger than that. I mean, that can be the beginning. This is not a timed board. I mean, it's going to keep existing, I would assume. Once they have created it, it's going to keep being here. So, when certain things have been achieved, then other things can be added. So I think when thinking about, anything to work on, I think the first question is it being done already? Is somebody else working on dark sky? I don't know, actually.
No.
Audubon might be.
No, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, I think that an important thing is, since the city has tasked us with, or they've talked about tasking us with so many different things, is to think about what the city's currently doing. And I don't think they're currently thinking about conservation in most of the projects. I mean, if you look at like the new wastewater treatment plant, they didn't think about putting solar panels on to the very end.
Well,
When they're discussing building a wellness center, they're talking about putting it right in the floodplain. So we need someone to tell the city, hey, this is we need to focus on making sure you're building in a smart way and things like that too. So I think that's part of it. I think that's something they want to task us with.
This is a little off topic from what everyone said, but I just want to, my fear with being really specific is that it may pigeonhole this board to only ever doing energy conservation or greenhouse gas. Not that I don't think those are valuable and they won't need to be continued to be worked on, but I'm afraid that, say that happens for 3 to 5 years and that makes it so this group can't branch out, and maybe this isn't something we can even address at this point. But does that make sense? I know you have a question.
I think you can argue that everything comes
That's
back
what I was
to
gonna
it. So I mean, I can think of an argument for protecting the watershed and how that goes in greenhouse gases.
Stormwater
So-
runoff is a big thing that wastewater treatment plants have to deal with, and that's energy from wastewater treatment plants.
You can
Green
seriously
infrastructure
draw
for
everything
stormwater
back to
runoff.
it.
Yeah,
So-
it all is connected.
Sure.
Like water conservation, compost, that's all getting greenhouse
Yeah.
gas emissions for solid waste. So,
Yep.
and I think specifically, I mean, this is specificity on a different level, but I think being as specific as possible in your recommendations is really the only way that you guys are going to be a useful board, because a lot of what I've encountered is people are like, this stuff is super interesting to me, but my day-to-day job is keeping this running. My day-to-day job is not sitting here going, how can I possibly save money in 5 years by doing something? And if you guys can come in and be the ones who say, okay, you need to do X, Y, Z. And then they're like, well, we can't really do Y, but we can do X and Z. And then coming in with the super, super specific recommendations. I think that's the best way to go about it.
What if we started with
list of topics that we wanted to talk about, which we did.
Like what you said,
Yeah, and what actually,
vision, goals.
yeah, like visions, list of topics we want to talk about, and then which ones we think we can tackle the soonest, and then narrow those down and keep our list moving. That way we have start, and we know what we're looking at, and we know what we want to talk about first.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And one of the things which has been mentioned here several times, and I've looked into a little bit because I've been involved in it through the years, is recycling. And the questions immediately can come up, what kind of a program does the city have anyway? Well, I have a 2 or 3 page paper that tells you about it. How many of us know what it is?
That's the
And
biggest
that's
thing I see.
the general public doesn't know either. What are some of the issues that they have with recycling, and how does it work? Some of you may or may not be aware that we are shipping out a lot of our solid waste to another part of the state that then separates it out. And that the way it works basically is that they call every day and tell them how much to bring in the way of transportation to haul the solid waste back to Belgrade where it is taken care of. Well, do they have any problems? They have a budget of $50,000 for solid waste for the year.
That's not very much money.
Well, it costs them $185 per load to be taken to Belgrade, the site. How many people know what the hours are that they're open? I've gone out there on a Saturday afternoon and the gate's closed. And part of this gets into the educational area too. And I wonder in terms of what the school is doing in relation to recycling, how this may relate, because they're involved in it. They're a part of this. We could work with them a little bit on the recycling aspects of it to see how it could be improved, or can we be helpful in getting more bins, for instance, which you suggested.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. And I think we could promote that with the city as well. I mean, we could make a recommendation to the city that, you know, they work with the schools to provide more bins for you to have for the recycling. So there are, and some of that could be a quick return. But it's just one area that already is set up. And my way of thinking it is whatever areas we're working in, first of all, we have to know where are we with this now if we're working on it already. Does it need improvement? We're the people who are working with it that we can work with and then go from there. But recycling is one, partly because I know a little bit about it and I have talked to them about it quite a bit, where I think, in other words, I'm saying I would raise recycling up on the priority list, the way it's
I'm
listed
with
up there.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, since you have me at your disposal and I have to do education and outreach and I like that kind of thing, I would love to do something like that and educate the public, or maybe it's just easier to educate kids on how many things aren't recyclable, and, you know, labeling bins and having lots of pictures of examples of things that are, like the city I lived in before had a pamphlet and it had pictures all over it, because sometimes you can't find a number and sometimes you got, so yeah, it's really hard and so confusing for everyone, and I want to help.
Well, and the city doesn't have a recycling program, really, that I can, I mean, that it's functioning.
No, I
So-
don't think it's even functioning.
No.
What do you mean?
I don't think so.
I mean, we have
Recycle
the
is like-
transfer station and you can take your stuff there, but
Right, and it's,
no, who knows that?
We don't have any,
historically,
like,
it's been better than
written goals
Bozeman's.
In most what?
Than Bozeman's.
So
So there
think
is
it's
a
just
curbside,
recycling
is that
is an
what's
industry
going on?
that's
so
kind of
let's
side.
so I'm going to try to condense.
Yeah, no, we're like
I'm trying really hard. No, this is really important for that everyone has the input and stuff. But so what I'm letting us do is just kind of run a couple of these ideas down the runway just a little bit, so I can hear where people are headed. And then I'd like to just kind of bring it back and try to prioritize and create just a queue of things. So on the recycling, what I put in here as kind of the project under recycling is evaluate recycling, waste knowledge, and do communication in the city. And that can mean many things. We could, with your help, Lexi, we could run down, and we have a YouTube channel. We can start doing, you know, follow your recycling, right? And publish a thing. We could do some kind of a guidelines thing. We could evaluate the signage, which is actually pretty poor at the recycling
I want to go way higher than this.
right now.
I want to know what all the inputs are,
Yep.
what all the outputs are. What, like, should we even be recycling plastic? We have limited money. Should we be focusing on the things that we can deal with in the state? We're like shipping glass out. Why are we the only ones doing that? Why are we taking glass? Is there something we can do better with it?
And therefore waste
I wanna-
reduction.
I want to start at the top and then
So
work
that-
down. So like all that's really
yeah.
important, but how do we do that when we don't even? I feel like
So I
we
think
can do better at the top.
I really like that. I think that's under the heading of evaluate
Yes,
recycling.
I feel very strongly
And
about this.
yeah,
topic.
and that's hey, we'll take passion. That's important. So the idea then is, and I actually added it here to the list of meetings, was under April 8th was doing a presentation front. So actually petition the city, county, whoever we can, to do a presentation on the state of recycling right now.
That'd be great.
So just, I don't know if you know this, but I meet with the Energy Corps people weekly or every other week with Parks Frady, who's the facilities manager for the
Yep.
county, and with Shannon Owens, who runs the city operations. And we kind of come to the conclusion that one of the major projects for the coming year with Lexus is materials handling, waste and recycling. And that's an opportunity because, and the part of that is especially easy to grab onto is food waste.
Mhm.
Because all of that stuff goes to Great Falls into landfill, turns into the methane, which is a hugely potent greenhouse gas. So the city operations people are pretty much on board with going in that direction.
Cool.
And Shannon Holmes, you're entering his turf, but at the same time, he knows a tremendous amount. And if you work with him, I think there's, just in terms of an opportunity.
Yeah.
That probably should, bump it up.
That's
And also,
wonderful.
I feel like I'm here to make them have to do less work. So if I learn what the city does, then I can tell us all. And then Shannon can stay busy with something else.
Yeah, that's great. I just heard that you're volunteering to come to every one of our meetings from now on.
Yeah, I heard that when I put it in my phone.
Thank you, and thank you for that input, Jim. So maybe what we do as we add, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the things that we have that have really bubbled to the surface, and I'm going to try to make sure that we have an actual list here. So we've talked about an energy climate action plan framework. We started down the path of that conversation, which was really useful because it allows us to see what direction we're going to go. It's okay. Let's just go ahead and put this in here as something that we're going to do. We'll have a little bit more discussions about that. And then we've talked about this recycling thing, which I think we can gather a little bit more information, and then we can understand what we can do as a board to help out with the efforts at the city, Lexi, and I think that will probably, it's possible that will go in the direction of both material stream analysis, if we want to do that, and definitely community outreach.
Yeah. Well, and greenhouse gas.
Well, and so what's
I don't
great
know if
about
we wanna,
getting,
like,
yeah, I
tally
mean,
it that way, but
building our competency around recycling will allow us to know best how to tackle the carbon footprint, essentially.
yeah.
Carbon footprint is all about energy and it's all about consumption.
Yep.
And if you come in from the bottom end and we talk about recycling and lowering use and all of that, it's a wonderful approach to dealing with the stuff, because if you get the public sort of starting to think in these terms, then it's an easy connection to thinking about energy use too.
Yeah.
The other thing I would just to inform you a little bit about the climate action plan. Alexis has pretty much finished the greenhouse gas portion of that. And I haven't talked to you lately about this, but it seems to me that the city also needs to know what the economic costs and the fuel volumes are associated with each one of those categories so that they have, the numbers to deal with it on it. And so the city and the county numbers are pretty good and they're pretty comprehensive. And if you want to think about it in terms of the whole community, the available data becomes much more sparse. In other words, the city's got 30 electric meters out there and we have that data. But if you want the city as a whole's electric use, you either got to read 300 electric meters or you use the composite number. So we can certainly broaden the climate action plan out to the whole county or maybe just the city. But the data will be kind of operating on a much kind of broader, more generalized kind of a realm. But it isn't that hard to do either. I mean, you could establish those numbers pretty easily.
Well, so to comment on that, right? So I spent a lot of time looking at this when I was down in Austin. It turns out that, spending a lot of board time, for example, if our goal is greenhouse gas impact emissions, that spending a lot of board time on specifically this solar project in this one place may actually be really missing the ball, because we should be spending our time on making sure that we have the latest energy standards on all of our building codes, right? And there may not be a problem there, but there may. And then we go to a recommendation to the zoning commission that says, please do this. But I mean, those are the kinds of things that, if we look at it from a more holistic standpoint. But I think just in interest of trying to accomplish what we came here to accomplish today, I think we've had a lot of good input on how we put together this energy climate action plan framework. We have a lot to think about, and then we can really get in the weeds and one of our follow-on meetings, which is actually on the schedule.
Organized, it looks.
I put that here on a.
It's in the Google Drive. Over.
Yeah, sorry, I will. Well, so my intention on these was to create just a quick organizational, was under the non-reviewed stuff. I put it, that was me not using the system the way I should.
Oh, under non-reviewed.
Not publicly reviewed yet. Admin, Conservation Board 2020 project list and priorities. I'd actually like to promote this document all the way to the board working documents, because I think it's going to be a living document. Mm-hmm. So this board working documents has essentially three, it'll have three items in it. One is the project pipeline. So this is where we put things that we're like, everything that we're working on, not just our priorities and our current schedule, but everything that comes up, everything that we ever want to dream of doing, we put into this project pipeline. And I've been trying desperately to update it as we're talking, but this is essentially, just all kinds of things, right? The things that we come up with, the things that we hear from the public, the things that we hear from people that are presenting to us. So this would be, stuff from the Green Initiative and other stuff that we want to add to the pipeline, so that eventually we just get to go shopping for what project we want to be working on. And then this is a public comment log. This is a desperately frustrating eye chart right now. And we will have to figure out how to use this more effectively, because I'm not going to be able to do this during the meetings.
So do we want to go through the rest of that list and then?
So I'd
see if
like
those
to.
are things we want to focus on?
Yeah, there's one of those that I think we should update based on what Jonathan said. that incorporate renewable energy into city projects. I think that's really great, but I would like to add what you said. So maybe renewable energy and environment, like
Environmental
conservation.
considerations.
Yeah,
Incorporate
environmental
conservation
consideration.
into city projects, and then
Sure.
we can decide what that means or something like that. I mean, I think that we'll just have a working group meeting and then we can, or working
Yeah.
meeting to decide the framework and the vision, and then we can just kind of decide what those are, but,
Wanted to
and
expand
just
it.
come up with goals then, like Livingston should work to reduce its carbon footprint.
So I think this is though, this is what this is doing is it's warning the commission on things that they're going to see from us. So this is incorporate renewable and environmental considerations.
Yeah, renewable energy.
I think
Yeah, that seems great.
one thing that, I'm sure you're very aware of it, is also renovations, new buildings, just like basic stuff like adding more insulation, like making sure windows
yeah.
don't leak, like stuff like that too, like,
So
because there's a lot of stuff is like
that might go under
very
like,
basic.
that
You're like,
energy
this building
plan.
just was built in 1960. And if
Yeah.
this is
So-
your one shot in 30 years to renovate it, then
So for example, as kind of an expansion on that, there are several city processes that I've seen that don't incorporate even a question for the people that are running the project of looking at this. So at the very least, you have to have people where they have to have an answer.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
almost
what
like
was your
you need a-
consideration here?
to use terms that
You can utilize
like
energy
an
audits.
environmental
of
impact
construction
statement,
plans, which is
and then
really-
something like that. So
Yeah.
we basically want more planning.
And we just want more,
Public
we basically want
Something
more
simple.
administration. We want more questions associated with it. Jim, you have a public
So
comment.
you could spend the next month just focusing on getting that question top dead center in the growth policy. And if it's up there at the top of the growth policy that all city projects have to include an economic and an energy analysis of the project. Every purchase and every project has to analyze it in terms of the energy use.
Yeah,
Something like that.
so that's a great, that's something they implemented. Again, what I have is Austin to look at, but that's absolutely every time you bought or
And
sold a
that's a
property.
global thing, and if they
Are
don't
we
do it-
talking for like everybody or just for
It is,
government?
it's under city. It's under the city code. It's for all homes and everything here. Yeah, Lexi.
So
see if you need to get a permit.
my, after I met with Parks and Shannon, they suggested I look at Northwestern Energy's rebates and incentives they have. And there's like a billion links on the website that go to every other place. But anyway, it sounds like almost everyone, including government's always eligible for energy audits. So it's not a hard goal to say.
That's not true.
No.
It is, you're eligible for an energy audit every 20 years. Your building is. So if you've had an energy audit within the past 20 years,
Yeah,
even
it
if
said
you're,
since 97 or whatever.
if
So
you're, even if you're a new owner, it doesn't matter.
There-
Interesting.
It's tied to the building. So
So
They have some
building-
specific rebates for like efficient electric motors and maybe
Yeah.
lighting that are quite
Insulation.
useful.
yes.
But
But
in
they also
terms
have
of
a
general
business government
conservation,
building
they're not very good.
something. Like, if we're talking about the government building something, that it's new and
They won't do it until the building's complete. They're not going to do
Right.
new construction docs.
So
So
at that point, it would be probably
It'd be too late.
analyzing your
Yeah.
plans
yeah.
as far as what your anticipated insulation will be and what type of heating and cooling you have, that kind of stuff. So I think that's,
There are commission
well, I guess we just
engineers
said
out there
city
that
projects,
do-
so that could be new or like remodels or whatever.
So building off of what Jim said, I think that since our board wasn't formed yet, we didn't have an opportunity to give input into the growth policy. I think that that's something we should actually maybe prioritize and maybe do very soon, because that's something that it's a really great opportunity for us to influence the city. And and that's something that really we probably need to do sooner rather than later. So I think that's a good way to make sure that the whole community is focusing on it for the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, so that's a shift, but I like it. Are there any input, anything that says, no, that's a bad idea to focus on growth policy earlier, almost as like our first thing?
No, that sounds good.
That's one reason I brought it up the last meeting.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. We're going to focus on one of our early wins is having and I'll have to shift the schedule just a little bit, which is just fine. I think we're going to have a hard time having a large framework that we use to push input to the growth policy. I mean, we can sit there and talk about it for hours, I'm sure. But there are some pretty easy things that we can do that provide some response, especially to some of the survey input now that we have it.
And I think that can also help inform our energy action plan framework. If we're focusing our goals with the growth policy, we're then still discussing our goals, so we can kind of make those work together. So that might be a good efficient way to do two things, to kill two birds with one stone.
How far have they gone into that growth policy?
So they just released the survey. So right now, the Urban Planning Services is focusing on the input that we gave at the January meeting and the survey to basically write the growth policy. And then they'll release a draft, which people will be able to comment on and later this year. I'm not entirely sure when, but basically at this point they're writing the growth policy based on public input. So now would be a good time to help. If we don't do it sooner rather than later, it won't be incorporated in the draft. I mean, we could add it to the draft later, but
Right, at the very least, we need to make that comment period.
yeah. And the comment period, I mean, it's kind of close, but you can do it anytime.
Did this committee submit something to them?
No,
We didn't have time.
This is
weren't-
only our third
we weren't
meeting.
informed yet.
They always said, anytime you want to submit, just go ahead and do it.
Yep,
Okay.
we feel fully authorized.
It might be- So it doesn't have to be terribly complicated or hard to put together. Just
No.
kind of start with a global statement.
And it touches on so many other things. I mean, more people, more waste, all right? And that's gonna be added to the waste stream.
I like that,
And
Bill.
more energy.
No, I love that. I think taking a close look at the growth policy from a conservation stance is will flush out some wonderful recommendations. So let's
We're gonna try and do that now.
we're not. I don't think.
Okay.
No, we really can't. What we can do is, depending on how excited everybody is about this, I'd love to focus on that.
I think it might
We
be
could
good
do a
for
working
people
meeting
to- Right, okay.
this
Have a little
month.
time to think through what
Yep.
you want so that we are efficient with our time at these meetings. And then, yeah, come back and maybe work on just that so we can't get sidetracked.
And guys, I know this feels dizzying and all that kind of stuff, and it feels like we're talking and it sucks. But as soon as we get this sort of queue in place, we'll be able to actually get this stuff done. It's just a question of what we prioritize.
When you wanted us to get a few things checked off, I think making a comment to that is actually really valuable.
It is.
Check a box.
It is. So let's, in order to, because we could talk about some good fun future stuff too. Is there anything else that anybody feels like is super urgent or a really quick win?
Wasn't the dark sky thing? because
Dark
of
sky
the
is,
streetlight deal?
so there's, yes,
Northwest Energy is going to be
So
replacing lights.
Shannon said that they have said they won't do it till 2021.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice.
So
They won't do dark sky lighting unless there's
Yeah,
a city
yeah.
ordinance.
And so
Yeah.
the city does have a night sky protection act that's in their
It's-
ordinances. It's basically just about curfew times for lights and about shielding.
Right.
Which, well, all historic streetlights are exempt from it.
Yeah,
So all of the ones downtown that are the circular ones, they're like, whatever, they can shoot off light however they want. And it's basically all about there's no sort of like, there's no discussion of like, do we need lights in an area versus do we not? It's sort of like, oh, we already have lights. Let's just make sure they like shine on where they're supposed to shine and that they're not on at 2 a.m. That's like basically what the ordinance they currently have talks about. It's about as far as it goes.
So I'd like to make a
Lights
pitch.
down.
Yeah, I'd like to make a pitch for this as being a really high priority, not because it's because it's a quick, basically because it's a quick win, and also it keeps things in check so that when Northwestern Energy, or there's actually 3 different entities that own streetlights, and you can talk to this too. It's the state, it is Northwestern Energy, and it's the city of Livingston that owns streetlights within the city of Livingston. And without a dark sky ordinance, they will do the bare minimum. Dark sky ordinances also usually, almost always these days, modern ones incorporate LED and efficiency standards. And so we can kind of hit 2 birds with 1 stone with that thing. And I think it can be a really quick work for us. We've got, so if you look under, this is under topics, archive, publicly reviewed. So this is because I sent this out. We have the current dark sky code is in here, and we also have this research and reference. These are guidelines on dark skies, and there's some incredible stuff that's been put together that's essentially copy paste for.
I was gonna say we can probably steal language.
All of it. I mean, they have full templates. In Kalispell, they have there's an International Dark Skies chapter. There's just a lot of material that we can use in probably one working meeting with a little bit of research, and we can just send it to the commission. So I'd like to propose that
Then we have a win under our belt.
we have another.
We're serious.
Yeah, they know
Yeah.
when we're rewriting a now defunct section of the city ordinance, and that's been mentioned several times by the commission and by Michael Cardos, I think that we have a real win under our belt.
Plus Northwestern Energy, they might not be replacing all the lights, but they do come in and like change the lights frequently. So
Yeah.
in order to
Do
just get it in there, it'd be
know
nice to
someone
make
who's
sure.
working on that project with Northwestern Energy, so I may be able to get some information on what he knows.
I know that
I'm not going to say anything more than that.
I know that-
That this exists and that,
Thank you
you
so
know, it's
much.
getting a big launch.
Mhm.
Really great.
Thank you so
I'm gonna
much.
try to come to as many as I can.
You can attend via the video thing, and I saw
I'm
this.
so tired of Skype meetings. I
Yeah.
thank you for that. I've been doing
100%.
multiple times a week, so real humans are a real thrill. Just very last of all, I'm just curious if there are on your website other climate action plans for different Montana.
Yes, if you
Okay, I'll look.
yeah, if you go into the Google Drive, which is linked to, I think this is so convoluted. We got to get it on our website, and I apologize it's not there yet. But they're under topics that haven't been publicly reviewed yet. There's climate, energy action plan, example plans from other communities.
Great.
And there's a couple of, one from Red Lodge and one from Whitefish.
Yeah, I know they've done great work.
Yeah.
So that'll be useful.
And that was sent by Jonathan. I gotta give him credit.
Okay.
On the topic of the
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for
Northwestern
coming,
lights, though,
Johnny.
I know the me in Red Lodge has had issues with Northwestern when they've been coming in and replacing lights. Is they have some sort of dark sky, sort of like restrictions on the types of light bulbs you can use. And Northwestern, the person that she was talking to said, we don't use those bulbs. Like we can't comply, basically. And so she was like,
So they say why?
they said that we just like don't have those bulbs and we won't go get them. And so now she's been working with them. I'm like, okay, so on this specific street light, you need to like shield it in this way. And it's just been this whole big convoluted mess. So
That's obnoxious.
I don't, yeah, it's pretty, yeah. I don't know how they're allowed to do that.
Well, I actually, well, because they're like, what are you gonna do? Sue us? You know, I mean, I'm not kidding. You know, there's a certain
they're
point
like,
where,
what are you gonna do, not have
There.
streetlights?
but so the thought is that it may make sense at some point to ask Northwestern Energy.
Well, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, you've got to go with it. You can't fight it.
Yeah, so
We're not here.
that's
to
what we're
fight
gonna
people.
do. That's
I don't
right.
know if Park Electric owns any streetlights. I highly doubt it. But
I don't know.
I
Yet.
may be able to find that through my person who
Cool.
works for Northwestern.
Yeah.
All right. This is a,
Yeah.
Well,
so, okay.
We
Well,
also have good, really, we have a contract with Northwest Energy to do all their rebate programs, so for lighting. So I wonder if I can contact that department. See
yeah,
what
just
they-
tell them,
What they have to say.
yeah, good
you know,
idea, I think.
just tell
Or
them,
who do you want me to talk to?
and we probably, so it sounds like as part of this, we will have to have a sort of a check-in, maybe after our working meeting associated with night sky that we can, or dark sky, that we can then have some check-in actions, whether it's, you know, as part of an actual meeting, or we can just check in with them and then report back.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd be also happy to make a call. And see who we've talked to.
Yeah, the person I know is actually going around to every single street light, like analyzing what type it is. So I don't know how
Even
much
better.
further he
Talk to that
goes.
person.
Yeah, I'll talk to him and find out.
That person's in Helena.
All right, so here-
Yeah,
Review
this
wherever
he's
they're
been
at.
around the state.
Here's what I'm gonna
doing this,
do.
but I don't know how much he goes after, what he does after that with the project, so I'm not sure how far it'll go, but.
Did we ever get those little maps of dots of Northwestern Energy versus city lights?
I've actually, so I finished all the city ones. I'm just actually gonna go out probably next week and do Green Acres because they just got annexed.
Oh.
So,
do you,
and then it will be, but I have to go get, the map didn't include Green Acres when I was doing it because it wasn't part of the city. So
Right.
I have to go get the map to include Green Acres and then it'll be done.
how we're gonna need that? How do you want to, is there a way for you to deliver that to us that makes sense?
I don't know, I could ask.
I think this is a
Are
hanging,
you doing the GIS work on it, or?
and this is a hanging
It
thing
was-
from our last meeting. I think you had said that there was a GIS map that was out there, but you weren't quite sure how to get it to us.
You should be able to just
What?
PDF a map, or they
Yeah.
have an online.
Just take a picture of it and text it to us.
An online
I mean,
It's red versus blue dots, so it's
You're
pretty-
like
So if you have any
literally
more
going out there
clarity
and
on
just-
that.
literally I like
Yeah.
Lexi did with me. You have an iPad and you're like,
Are we allowed to share that data?
I'm sure.
Well,
I just have to
I
figure
think
it out.
so.
It's just on a
It's a
city
public
iPad
document.
right
Right.
now.
So legally,
If you
yes.
walked around.
And we're a
you
city
figure it
board.
out.
Yeah, we're a city board. We're part of the entity that, you know,
I just have it on a city iPad right now, so
feel for
I,
you guys. We had Energy Corps members do this for us. in
Yeah.
Uganda, and they walked the whole city.
I biked every single street
would
and
love-
alley in this
I would love
place.
to do that.
Actually, it was great. It was really
Kinda
windy
nice
the
to
day I
get
did it, or the
Yeah.
2 days I did it, but it was a good workout.
So
And now don't get lost and all.
let's focus on the rest of the list, guys. So what I'd like to do, so I did a shift here, and I think what I'd like to do then is to have a working meeting, if we can, this month on growth policy input from Conservation Board. And then on our April 8th meeting, create an opportunity for additional public comment and actually vote on our list of recommendations so that we can send that off to Burton as the Conservation Board.
Because we can't.
We can't do
do that during the-
resolutions, right?
okay.
I know, it's okay. So that would be then a vote. So vote on list of recommendations from Conservation Board.
And can we send those directly to the Burton people, or does it have to go through the commission?
They solicited to us directly, but I don't know what the commission's answer to that question would be. But they did, I think, I mean,
I'm
You're
just
official.
curious.
I think you said it both places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds smart.
Then it's a city. Really?
I mean,
Sure
any
is.
recommendation, any set of voted recommendations that goes to Burton is in public space. It's,
Okay,
you know,
just making sure we know what the rules are.
Great.
Boy, there are questions dealing with the environment on that survey, and might be one of the things we would ask them, what kind of response did you get on these questions?
We actually have the responses in that document, if we can get a hold of that
Oh, okay.
from Jonathan.
Yep. Let me.
I mean, that's obviously like a cumulative response there, but.
So it says from Livingston Growth Policy survey results, we have weatherization, protect our groundwater, protect water quality, protect natural areas such as floodplains, wetlands, and wildlife habitat. There's a lot here.
Yeah, I think if you put it, we could just review it. We don't need,
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
we don't need to review it now.
So we'll do that. So we'll do that during,
Review it on our own.
to get to this document, because the output of this meeting has got to be this document. It sounds like we want to have a working meeting where we talk about growth policy input. We find that the clock is really ticking on that. And then for our very next official meeting, which is April 8th, 1 month from now-ish, we vote on that list of recommendations.
We could also schedule an official meeting for 2.5 days after our working session and then just pass it then,
just
if we really
all
wanted to
get
just
together
it
and
done.
pass it.
You
Or-
have to give them, you have to give.
It's-
public notice.
Yeah,
That's
70,
right,
it's
2.5
72
days,
hours.
or
Yeah.
It's 48 hours, yeah.
Well, you got to get it to Faith, and then Faith has to notice it. So it's a little bit.
Well, but if we do it.
Right. I know what
mean,
you're
but if we
saying.
do it on like a Tuesday, we can just like say like, okay, on Friday.
And then have a
at-
10-minute meeting.
Or Friday at noon, we're gonna have this meeting, and then the meeting's notice, as long as we just give it to Faith, like the document to Faith, then it'll be.
Do you really feel like April 8th is too late though?
I don't.
Yes.
I don't. You
Well,
do?
I don't know if it's too late, but I just think there's gonna be a lot of work done in the next month I mean, that's what Burton's gonna be writing, is the growth policy. Maybe it's not too late, but it's like late.
We'll send Burton a little note saying,
That's what
we're
we'll
a
do.
new board, we're spending the month working
That
on
sounds good.
energy related.
That's what I'm going to do.
And it's,
We'll have
it'll-
something.
Maybe
to
make
by
that
this
section
time.
really good, so
Yeah.
our
And
comments
And I'm not
don't
sure
even
that we're
need
gonna have
to apply.
anything that's like crazy different than what they have. It'll just be kind of reaffirming
Yeah,
the
that's
specific
fine.
things. So a lot of that might have already
Yeah.
been included in there. I don't think we're gonna have something from left field that's like, we really want this weird idea.
Yeah, and they said they aren't gonna, I just pulled up the timeline, and they
Yes,
said they're not gonna
I
start
see.
updating it until March, and then they're gonna finish it by August. So
Right.
Oh,
we
I
have
think
one.
April, I think
So we have
April
one.
is fine.
So that's good, let's do that.
Let's not get nuts with our meetings.
I agree.
Meeting.
McCray, do you have anything?
Be like,
I guess
"I'm
so, yeah.
I feel like we've all been just
I've been
shouting over
listening.
each other. You got any? I just want to check in.
I can say now that I cannot make that April meeting. I might be
You can't even call in.
I might be able to. I might be driving. I might not be able to.
I'm
But
not,
if-
I also won't be able to make it, I mean, I
Uh-oh.
might be able to call in.
So
but
maybe we
I'm
need to,
fine that day.
we might have to.
We'll
Then we
we'll
won't
take
have
care of
any
all this
people to
over.
make-
I'm
over-
also flying
Okay.
that day. Oh my god.
Oh, we'll change the
So nobody
So
can
we
make the
need to
meeting.
change the date.
All right,
of that
hang on.
meeting.
Let's. All right.
But let's
Lot of-
not focus on that right
Are we-
now.
Let's not
Let's
let's
move
just
on
get
to our
this.
list.
Yeah.
So
now
we're
we
gonna
can-
have a growth policy input from Conservation Board working meeting. Working meeting on growth policy input from Conservation Board. Then we're going to vote on a list of recommendations on the April 8th meeting. It sounds like that's going to be a difficult meeting to get everybody together for. We may not want to start anything else. We could just have a short meeting, but we could have a resolution for another working meeting
Or we
shortly
just
after.
change the date of that meeting.
Or we could just change the
I
date.
think that'd be better. Because if you're
Um,
flying, well, whatever. It just sounds like we can't, if we can't even call in then.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do then. Hopefully
Yeah.
that vote works well and there's not too much aplomb. If there is, we'll manage it at the time. But I'm going to eliminate the April working meeting and instead say we're kind of shoehorning growth policy in here before we do anything else. But in a month, either on April 8th or another time we talk about in a second, we will then start our dark sky ordinance research stuff.
Okay.
So what that'll mean is we're going to just review dark sky, what we have currently, hopefully everybody will have reviewed it before we show up, and then we will review the recommendations. Does anybody want, before that meeting, to take a first, just because that's the very next one I'm asking, a first pass at a dark sky ordinance?
I would take a first pass at the growth policy thing.
Sold.
The growth policy document.
Sold. So you're going to bring that to the next working meeting that we
Yes.
have to pick a date for.
Yes.
I can volunteer for the dark sky stuff.
Is that what?
Yeah. I don't know any-
You want to do it.
So, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
I figured
Committee.
I would do some research anyway.
Dark sky
so-
committee.
Yeah, it's on the Livingston Municipal Codes, it's chapter 18. That's what they have.
All right. then.
And it's and it's also
I just Googled like Livingston, Montana Municipal
I'll
Codes.
work with
So,
you on
and
the
then-
growth policy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Thank you. And then do you want in on any of those? No, wait, 4 is a quorum, so you can jump in on any of those that you want.
I mean, if I could help with any of them, I guess I can talk with people, but
You could
How about the
be
growth
valuable in
policy?
the growth policy because of your
I really think
connection
so.
with education, like
yeah, and I have a
Maybe
few
you-
things too here, so yeah.
right.
All right.
Would you say
Sounds
chapter
great.
18?
So you're putting that little
Breaking
sub
down by gender.
that little
Yeah.
sub meeting. It is a
Okay.
gender breakdown. Sorry guys.
Doesn't matter.
Really,
In the end.
Okay.
Girls
Yeah.
only care about dark sky.
If I
Well,
thought
I
that
can
was
jump
on
in on-
purpose, then I would be
So-
very offended.
Yeah. You
Um,
say chapter 18?
We can just see, right?
yeah, and this is all under the lighting.
Yeah.
It's all under dark sky. Actually, this probably shouldn't
I'm
be.
just gonna do a bunch of research.
I'm just gonna
I
put it
really
under
don't know
here.
anything about
Yeah, we can
it.
just email it.
I think it's
To like write it, maybe we should take a bunch. You want to?
Let me research them first.
All right.
And
So
then we'll figure it out.
so public comment would be really helpful. Jim Berg. Before
Well, these are public.
Yeah, I was like, aren't we public? too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I figured y'all were just like
Honorary.
all honorary board
We're
members.
not
Can't be.
allowed to
Yeah.
be politically
We are not.
active.
You're not.
We are not.
I can't,
You're
we're not even
able
supposed to
to.
make recommendations. I'm allowed to say, here's what other people have done that they have liked. But I cannot say,
serious.
You're
you should
here
do
as
this.
private
Which is weird.
citizens. You don't
Yeah.
even know what my job is.
That's
you
true.
don't even know
I
my
don't even
name.
have one.
So we are going to have a working meeting where we review those recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, y'all can just pass emails around. That's fine, whatever, right? But just come to that working meeting with the recommendations on the items to send to the growth policy from the Conservation Board.
Can you send around a group email?
So we have all the rules well spelled out in our,
And John.
I am so glad you asked that. So here's the answer. Please be advised, substantive discussion of topics is not currently allowed because that constitutes deliberation, which needs to be done during a quorum. Instead, you can use the message board to ask questions, make topic requests, or submit information to the board. All posts are copied. So
When you said 4 makes a quorum, you're trying to keep research groups under 4?
Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
So we meet without-
because otherwise it has to be a noticed
We're just
meeting.
researching,
You can
we're
also
not doing
email for
anything official.
administrative stuff.
Well, you can, or as long as, this is really key, and this is important for all of our board members to know because we don't want this taken away from us. You can send whatever you want to the board, just don't respond to other board members and the things that they say.
Yep.
Can I make that very clear? If you like an idea that somebody has, don't reply and say, I like that idea, because that is deliberation.
Basically, shelve that until we show up here.
That's right.
Bill, I liked your.
And so everybody should feel free to email everybody on the board a lot of things, but you should get basically silence back, right? There's no public deliberation. And I really encourage copying everybody so we don't have fractioned knowledge, right? We want everything in this thing so that we know what we're doing. Is this very clear? Is there any?
Well, I'm a public member of the public.
You can-
and I want to learn about our current growth policy and stuff. So
You-
if there, yeah.
You just
You
have to sign up for
sign
our
up for
group
our
email
group
and you'll
board.
get all of the emails that
Yeah,
we
someone
send.
tell me how to do that, and then also how to, if you all three are gonna research what, someone give me more direction.
More direction on what?
The,
Wait, what?
We can
growth.
Oh,
help
just,
figure, or we can, or Michael can, or somebody can show you how to join the group site.
I think
What's your full name?
Thing.
Well, I think I should do the serious shit. Which email did you?
I don't know.
There's
My
only
Jen, do you want on
personal
this?
one.
I don't know, I'm thinking about it.
Okay,
I want
Eve.
extra emails.
right.
You actually only get special notices unless you log in and change your notice settings to getting all emails. And special notices are only things like, we're having a meeting and here's the agenda.
Sure.
Just send an email to subscribe?
You can.
So do we want to go through the rest? of the
Yeah,
list?
we really need to get through this.
There isn't much left on the list.
know,
Oh, the
I'm like-
list, our agenda list, sorry.
Well, the list of the.
The list of the things that we're going to do, that we're going to send to the commission on Tuesday. Lexi, what do you?
E Corp at Livingston, Montana.
Or Corp, K-C-K.
CORP, no S.
KORP?
Yep.
But not Energy Corps. That's different.
I know, they made me a special email so that I could have one while we both were here.
Fair
You
enough.
could just use mine because you're
Are
gonna
you-
get it soon
I don't
enough.
know.
You're
how it works.
Lexi?
Yes,
What's your last name?
FOLKERTS.
Now let's see if this works.
Got it.
I don't know, I haven't received any of your emails, it's not important right now.
Okay.
Looks
You
like we're
both have
down to
invites.
Thank you.
I'm assuming it's electric vehicle infrastructure plan and then wastewater energy saving measures. Is that, I think that's it. That we haven't covered. Well,
Yeah.
Public outreach, but to me, that's like all of it.
So
But just tag it on to
Yeah,
all of
right.
them.
Yeah.
So I think I think that public outreach, I think we should do. So that sounds great. Let's have a meeting where we discuss outreach strategies, including public input with different groups like Yellowstone Bid Citizens Council,
Oh,
Park
okay.
County Environmental Council, Green Initiative, things like that.
Okay, so actually,
It
I
doesn't
don't
look-
have that in here.
I was gonna say, it doesn't look like what your parentheses say.
What I was trying to do here is capture all the crap that I've been doing with with the message board, the remote meetings, and the document center.
But we kind of have that like down.
That's
right?
kind of down.
It's like done, like check. So you checked one.
Well, I have some stuff that I'm going to continue to do, which is develop procedures that are in compliance with sunshine laws and then have those reviewed by the city lawyer. I don't need any other board member help with that,
Okay.
but I do want to communicate that we're working on that.
I see. Okay. I get it.
But this is more a public outreach and
Slash education.
/education opportunities.
Yeah, I thought what was her name? Joan? Sorry.
Yep.
I thought what
Johnny.
she said was really valuable about not repeating.
Mhm.
I mean, we could use our position to support, but if they're doing a really good job, then that makes a lot of sense. to me.
So I've
But we
actually,
need to know what
That was
everyone's
already
doing.
a meeting, right?
yeah, so I've actually got that here. I had it as May. Now I had it before, but now it's shifted down and be May. Working meeting to review outreach plans to the community and outreach products. And I even here included determining our two big outreach focuses. So this was just an idea, which is that, at any given time as a board, it'd be nice to just have a couple of things, outreach things that we're focused on and working on, so that we don't do too much and so we don't do too little. We're working on that YouTube plan and we're not working on
Our
something
things
else.
stopped.
What's that?
Our video stopped.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that and then I thought it was just my computer, but.
Oh, is that just your computer?
No, it's still
Okay.
there.
It just popped back up.
It's still there.
Yeah, I just thought that was my
Needed a
computer
refresher.
refreshing or something.
Yeah, the video is different than the,
In the official meeting. Okay, just making sure, because it's still the video stopped for a second.
Yeah.
Didn't want to have.
Are
the
you
meeting
recording
without
this?
video.
yeah, no, this is all being recorded. Okay, this has been good. So, God, we're actually getting close to this. So what we've got is, so the question I have to y'all is, how do you feel about EV infrastructure?
Can I add a comment for that?
Yeah.
One thing I think the city could use would be a EV for taking fuel economy, taking alternative fuel vehicles into account in their procurement policy. I know Shannon has been looking at it for replacing some of the like passenger car, like smaller sort of vehicles they have as they go out of their like useful life. But that's like just because he's like, yeah, this is kind of cool. It's not an actual policy. And so that would also require, if you're going to have people take into consideration EVs, it would also require having the city invest in, can't get EVs if you don't have charging stations. So investing in them at the city county building and that kind of stuff.
Starting with charging stations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of my pet project. Y'all know this is how I kind of got onto all this stuff. I have just a lightning focus on EV infrastructure. We have 2 chargers. That's it.
Where?
They're at right next outside of Neptune's.
Do we have numbers on like the demand?
Very little.
Like
Very
the
little.
demand's little, or we don't have any numbers?
The demand is little.
Okay.
I think since we
So-
installed them, there's maybe been about 5 people. But see, the
So
fact
if the
that
demand's or are you just trying to think?
this
future?
is, yeah. So
Okay.
It's,
so I'm
chicken,
This
like-
is
it's the
why-
chicken and egg problem. Right?
yeah, this is actually, your question really drives the point home, and the reason I wanted to maybe do a presentation to the
Yeah,
board
I saw that on your.
is not because it's this space is changing real fast. And so the looking at historic usage is completely unuseful. There's some really cool points that I'd like to kind of make sure everyone's aware of, so that we can then prioritize EVs the way that we want to.
But
Um,
I don't know. a lot
But
about this.
Yeah.
So
That sounds
is
great,
this-
and the city asked us to do that, so.
yeah, they
Oh,
did.
Okay. I guess I'm wondering do we feel like, not that we feel like, is this technology something that is going to be around for a while, or is it going to get overridden by something else? And I don't know that we can have an answer.
Let's
to that,
we'll
but that would be my concern of putting in expensive
Horses.
things.
we'll definitely talk about it.
Okay.
We
Um,
should just go full circle back to horses.
Horses.
Is that on your plan?
We should do e-scooters. All e-scooters all over town.
I-9
During the,
just
on
coming
the
down.
ice.
I'm not.
Going
going
down.
We haven't even read the East
So-
There, we can all just get around that way.
Is that,
Um,
I think that's everything on the list except for wastewater and energy savings measures.
Yeah, so the wastewater energy savings is, so we've got the public outreach education opportunities, I'll just say in conservation, so that we have this giant bucket that we can talk to, and we'll make that May 2020 to sort of the end of the year, and then we'll reevaluate. So I'm just giving so that they kind of know what we're doing, kind of in the time frames that we're doing it. So this would be just sort of a start. We'd have public outreach, and then is this redundant? This isn't redundant. Oh,
It
right.
is, but maybe you had a different idea.
What
Oh,
I
there's a
did,
framework in the-
yeah, what I did was I changed framework. So let me just make that not confusing. And then the question is, based on the schedule that we have, that I have up here now, is this, remember, all this can change. We're going to review this habitually every meeting. Okay?
Yeah.
I just want to make this very
Maybe-
clear.
Maybe not in this.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Well, this is the beginning.
What we're going to do,
This is
this will be a
starting
working
document.
document, you know, But these are our meetings for the rest of the year. I don't even have anything scheduled for October, November, or December. I don't really want to. I think that'll come out. But the idea is just to try to give them at least the next several months of what we're going to be working on. Does any of this? I feel like this is actually aligned with the things that we just said we were going to do. We shoehorned growth policy in there.
Can you just read what they are?
Why don't we do that?
It's not on the screen anymore.
Yep. So we have the presentation from Energy Corps. I'm sorry. That was our first meeting a while back. My apologies.
I just had it up. Oh, no, that's what I have. Oh, I see. I'm not getting the updated.
So our very next working meeting is going to be March 2020 working meeting on growth policy input from the Conservation Board. Then on April 8th, we're going to vote on a list of recommendations from the Conservation Board. So that is essentially voting to ratify the output of our March working meeting. Hopefully also in April, and in lieu of a working meeting in April, we are going to just do probably a 2-hour meeting where we review the dark sky ordinance research, and then we put together our beginning recommendations. The following meeting, the next month, we will vote on that. So I'm going to move just to make this consistent. Assuming we have a solid recommendation that came out of that previous meeting, we'll have a whole month to do offline, evaluation and input. Again, not deliberation, but it'll be input. And then during the next meeting, we can just quickly try to incorporate whatever input we have and then vote on it. If we have to, we can always push it to the next meeting, but we'll try to get it done by then.
I think 2 months is plenty of time.
Yeah. The one that I don't think we're going to be able to do all three of these in one meeting. So EV infrastructure and the state of recycling. So no one's going to hurt my feelings if they want to push the EV infrastructure thing to maybe our June meeting.
It does seem a little less. It's smaller. It's a lot.
And I think I'm gonna learn about the recycling a lot sooner.
Cool.
That's true.
Yeah, and I
She's
have a
on
lot
the
about
timeline.
that too.
Yeah.
How long were you here? A year?
Mid-August.
Oh, no. So you're
6 months.
only, okay.
6 months.
She took
Good.
the rest of her term.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And would you sign up for actually doing that presentation?
What presentation?
A presentation on the state of recycling in the city and county.
To you guys?
Yeah.
June.
May 13th. Is that too quick?
I hope I go on enough tours and know what.
Can I make
goes on by then.
Can I make a special request then, since you're about to go on a bunch of tours?
Okay.
You don't have to say yes.
Okay.
Video with your phone. When you're walking around and you're figuring stuff out and you're seeing something, take a video and bring it to us so that we're not talking theoretically about this recycling area. We just get to see it.
Okay. I'm usually a pretty good photographer.
Yeah.
So I'll get some videos too.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, that is great. Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and do you like to spell it Lexi?
Nope.
No.
Lexie.
Yeah, this is good. All right. Then in May, it'd be nice to have a working meeting to do community outreach plans. We can do it maybe not in this stuffy location as a carrot. June, we'd have the final vote if necessary. I just put this in here just in case we don't get it done in May. That's all. And then I'll do the presentation on EV infrastructure in June. There might be something else that percolates in here that we need to actually do during the June meeting. So, stay tuned. And then we really get into stuff. I think I'd actually we got to be careful with working meetings during the summer because it's Livingston, Montana in the summer.
Yeah.
So maybe we,
Why don't we just kind of see how it flushes out?
yeah, but this
Unless
is,
you are like really trying to get the solid schedule, I guess.
well, this is just what gets communicated to the commission. So I just don't,
Oh, okay.
you know, I
Sorry,
just
I
want
forgot
them,
about
I
that.
want them to have a measure. I mean, there's a giant, you know, subject to change
Okay.
here, but we got to send them something because otherwise they're just going to come back with a list of priorities and dates for us.
Okay, I didn't realize that's what this whole thing was getting
Yeah.
sent to, so.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, man, you're like really motivated here to get it all planned out, but it makes sense.
Should we just put a little bit more about recycling in one of the other meetings, just to?
I would like to. That's a good
Probably
idea.
the
Do
June
we look
10th.
too busy to take on more things?
You could,
I'd like to talk about.
Well,
Early-
also
early
my
on,
food waste
like in-
thing is gonna,
in April, you could possibly.
Yes, Jim.
Just a quick report. Just to kind of fill in on the recycling. What she's learned so far.
Yeah, so that's going to be this one here on May 13th. Presentation
Okay.
from City, County, and the state from Lexi.
I'm also gonna learn about composting and I already know a bunch about food waste, so if
I would
wanted to add
Recycling,
something there.
I'd
composting.
be very interested to know about the composting that's currently happening right now.
You will have the floor.
If,
You
if
bring,
you're- I'm just saying, like, he wanted to add something to another day, so I'm like, if you just want to pop
Oh, I
in
see.
more topics, there's another topic.
yeah, I would like to have, we can do a deep dive, but just bring what you got on
Yeah.
May 13th and then we'll go from there.
Got
Because there may be a lot of ideation around actions that we can have associated with those topics. I agree with you, Jonathan. We need something about recycling in here.
Well, May 13th, oh wait, I'm looking at the old
I
one.
know. I'm sorry. This is the new one.
No,
I
I'm-
just
I'm
meant,
like-
like just September, we could just put recycling or something. I mean, we can change it, but I just.
Yep.
If we're just.
Yep.
If we're gonna get a report, let's just talk about the stuff we want to do later.
Or
Green
you could-
waste or whatever.
Solid waste, green
Yeah,
waste.
I was gonna say solid waste. Something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Review
really what it falls under is
of
the solid waste. we're
solid
producing.
waste and recycling recommendations to the commission. And make sure I'm just doing this.
So that May through June should be May through September. That's just a little.
Yep. No, I mean, that's absolutely.
The old one.
Oh,
It's not being up, or my version's not being updated.
crap. I don't even know what happened. There it is.
2020. And then these will be our timeframes. I feel okay about leaving these.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing that.
I
Yes,
Things will
TBD.
change so much.
That's
His
that.
meeting. Yeah.
Go.
I'm
He's-
joined in the
That's
meeting.
like a
Oh, he's
solid
doing it.
6
Yeah.
months.
Oh,
I
okay.
feel like that's
I'm not doing it.
fairly impressive considering.
Yeah.
So I think that was really.
Yeah,
good.
I am so like less stressed out now that we've done this. Can I just
I
say
feel
that?
like you've done a ton of.
Well,
work.
because now we
I'm
just
like,
we
I gotta
have
do some work. We need this.
now we just have our path in front of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, and again, this is important. This is all a moving thing. So we are near the end of our meeting. I want to make sure we just get this done. Initial revision created by Conservation Board. Date adopted 3/11.
Where's my watch?
20.
Is this revision 2?
There's actually revision 001 as opposed to 000A.
Wow.
So are you finished with that? Okay, so I moved.
Let
that-
me,
I
well,
moved
let
that we
me,
send the- to
I'm
the
probably
city
going to just
commission.
take this out because I'd have to go into detail about each project on this.
Yeah,
and
maybe
Yeah,
that's
don't do
something
that.
that we build on.
We'll just build on it. So,
Okay. I move that we send this document to the city commission ahead of Tuesday's meetings, so they have something to direct us to do.
Second.
moved and seconded. Do we have any nays? How about we ask it that way this time? There's a few ways to check this officially. No nays, the ayes have it. Resolution passes. Rev 1 can go to the commission. I am so proud of us. Very well done, everybody. We do have one last little thing, which is when are we meeting next? Because I just heard a bunch of people say March 8th or April 8th is
Just
is
send
out.
out a poll like we did before.
I can do that.
Do
You
we,
know,
what,
You want to throw out a few
can we
dates or
just,
what?
how does the 25th work for it? I mean, if we're all here, we might
Yeah.
as well try it.
Hold on,
Is anyone going anywhere for spring break?
What is-
Okay, so probably spring
I
break
am.
is the 25th, so how does next
I'll be-
Wednesday work? The
I'll be in
18th?
Costa Rica. Oh no, next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh,
Let's
wait,
go
what are,
on numbers, 18, 25.
no, we need to be like a month out. Wait, what are we planning?
Working
this
we're
week?
doing our working
Okay, I
meeting.
thought this was
for
for
our
next
growth.
month's meeting. I was like.
Working meeting for
Working
growth
meeting.
policy input.
Oh my
I
gosh,
think we need. I'm really sorry, but I do think, well, two things. One, you and Bill and McCrae need some time to at least over email or something, put your heads together and identify some inputs to what we're going to review at the working meeting.
Mhm.
And then spring break is happening. That's a
Yes.
thing. You guys can do it without me if you want. I don't care. I won't be here, but
Well, if we're talking about a
What week
working
is spring
meeting,
break? I don't have kids.
we should probably all
Anybody?
try and be here for the working
I
meeting.
just looked it up for some reason and I think
What week
it's
is spring
March.
break?
It's like the end of March.
it's
It's
the
the 20
23rd through 27th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right here. You can see all my friends' birthdays and all the other stuff. up there
30th
going
of March.
on.
30th or
Was in the
30th
18th was way
works.
too
I don't
soon.
think. Oh wait, no.
For a
30th could
working
work.
meeting.
30th
You're
could
on
work
the
for me.
31st.
You and Garfield. No, I think 30th would work.
pretty restricted,
Okay.
actually.
5 p.m.
So you like
30th,
that
does that work for
email?
everyone?
When you made that
Speak
remark
now, forever hold your
about the
peace.
email.
5 p.m. on the 30th.
Oh, it was okay.
But
Okay.
I knew that
I
I
might
shouldn't
have some.
respond. And I was like, so I was like, yes, I remember.
Just let us know.
Good, good.
If
Yeah.
it doesn't work out.
It's possible that we
I didn't
might
know
all
you
have to
felt
meet
I should
remotely by
respond
then.
on
because of
Tuesday.
No.
coronavirus.
True,
But-
so.
I know.
Did you
So-
say
I
5
wasn't even
p.m.?
sure I was gonna get
Yeah.
to you.
Probably location TVA. 'Cause we don't
We
really
can
do-
meet at Livingston Greens if you want,
Where's that?
an indoor farm. 105
Yeah,
East,
sounds
105
nice.
East Clark. It's back behind Nevin's Glass at Clark and Main.
It's
Okay,
right by
that sounds
Neptune.
easy.
Right,
Just
right
wanna
across the
make
street
sure.
from Neptune's.
Half
There
a
you go.
block
Well,
east of Neptune on the same street.
We can
Okay.
do all that. Sure.
Straight from Lowe's and Fishes.
Yes.
That's right. Right across from Lowe's and Fishes.
Okay. I know where that is.
And the boxcar.
I know the owner.
I've been there just like.
Okay. It's in my calendar.
Cool.
Okay.
Can I do a quick public comment?
We would love
Okay.
that. Let me just one real quick, because we settled working meeting, but I heard lots of non-attendees for the other one. Let's just I guess table that discussion until we have the working meeting.
Oh,
Okay,
for a new.
for a new
Cool.
time for the next.
So
The
the
next one.
working meeting is going to be,
March 30th at 5 p.m.
all right,
At Livingston Green.
Oh, yep.
across from Loaves and Fishes.
Let me edit that. Sorry. Livingston Greens.
Okay.
And I'll go, there will be a call in for that, but I'll have to do that later. Any final public comments?
So Solarize 2020 from YBCC is kicking off. I don't know. So last year, YBCC, I mean, I wasn't here. You guys were here. They did a Solarize campaign for people in Livingston to sort of help people understand how to go solar, how to get financing, and also to connect them with solar installers. and they're going to do another one this year. And I think their first event, they're pretty sure it's happening. It would be a Catabatic on March 24th. Just get a beer and talk to people about solar and be excited about it. And their first information session, so you meet installers, you meet financing people from like credit unions, from the DEQ, that kind of stuff, is on March 31st at 6 p.m. and that's at the Shane Center. And then there'll be a second event of the same thing if you can't make that on, I think, April 16th, same time at 6 p.m. So if you're into solar, if you might want to get solar. Also, if you buy raffle tickets, you could win an e-bike. So that's very exciting. If you want to win an e-bike.
It's all,
Selling tickets, right?
No, you have to go to an event to buy a raffle ticket.
they're all the rage. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's good. So I think we've accomplished everything. Looks like Jonathan has a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay.
Amy seconded.
Oh, okay.
I forfeit.
Oh, I hear a bunch of ayes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all.
I've got